starting off this week, I'm so excited to talk about this topic right off the bat. What a trade, to seriously be honest with you. Like, I did not expect Ben Simmons to get traded away at the trade deadline. And if you watched my previous video last week about Ben Simmons and he needed to be traded, I was right. He needed to be traded. It was time. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that too, how the 76ers should have traded him earlier, in my opinion. And pretty much my reactions from this trade is that, first off, like I said, what a trade. Crazy to think that James Harden and Ben Simmons both got traded away at the trade deadline. There was a chance for Ben to get traded at the trade deadline, but again, personally, I thought he wasn't going to get traded, and I don't think many people thought James Harden was going to get traded during the trade deadline. I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. I definitely didn't see that coming either. I know there were reports out going either way, whether he wanted to stay in Brooklyn or not. I honestly thought the rumors might have been not true, but then it was like the day before or the day of the trade deadline when I saw the source come out and say that the reason the Nets and James Harden having come out to say that he wants a trade is because he felt like that was a disservice. He felt like that wasn't right of him, and he wouldn't be seen as a good guy or anything like that if he came out wanting another trade. It hasn't even been 2 years since him asking for a trade from Houston, so he thought that would make him look bad, essentially. So it makes sense looking back, but besides that, I think this is a win for Brooklyn, in my opinion. I know that's not a very popular opinion, but I do think the Brooklyn Nets won this trade, in my opinion. And the reasons are just because, like I said before, the Sixers could have traded Ben Simmons a long time ago, and I feel like they waited too long to trade him. And look what it got you, man. I mean, you look at the trade, and people are like, oh yeah, the Sixers won. It's like, I mean, if we're talking about right now, sure, Sixers won the trade right now. But let's be honest, in the next 2 to 3 years, who do you think won the trade? It's probably the Nets. And not only that, the Nets, both teams got better out of this trade. It was a win-win. I do feel like the Nets won more, though, in this trade. Not only did they get Ben Simmons, who, by the way, I feel like a lot of us have forgotten. He is a top 5 defender in this league. He is an elite defender. Yeah, we all crap on his shooting, but he can do everything else great. He's a good playmaker. He's going to be a great playmaker for the Nets. They needed another one, and he's going to be a great defender for the Nets. They needed a good playmaker and a good defender, and they got Ben Simmons out of that. And then they also got Seth Curry in the trade, who you bring in one of the elite shooters in the NBA, which a lot of people, I feel like, haven't really noticed, but Seth Curry is one of the best three-point shooters in the league right now, and you could pretty much debate, or it's practically no debate, he is a top 5 three-point shooter in the league currently. Definitely top 10. He's one of the best three-point shooters in this league currently. He's shooting over 40% from the field at the three-point range, so can't ask for anything better right there. They get more three-point shooting. That's awesome. They also got Andre Drummond. I'm not expecting Andre Drummond to be a starter, but I am expecting him to be coming off the bench, which is going to be great for them. It brings more rebounding. Drummond hasn't always been like the best defender, but he brings some size. Really, I think the big factor for the Nets getting him was because of his rebounding, and that's going to help out a lot. And they also were able to get 2 first-round picks, which is crazy because the Sixers, they were asking for first-round picks for Ben Simmons when they were trying to trade him off. And that's one of the reasons why I think the Nets won, because not only do you get 3 players that are going to help out your team immediately, you also got 2 first-round picks, which, yeah, might not do anything, but it already got reported that the Nets are going to use them probably as trade pieces to get win now players, just like what they just got in Seth Curry and Andre Drummond to help build out their bench, because they need more bench pieces. And they realize that the fact that they were able to get a 2022 unprotected first round pick and a 2027 protected pick, I mean, they're going to trade those off and get some more pieces, build out the bench, and build a team that best fits their team that they have currently. And depending on how the vaccine mandate goes in New York, we don't know if Kyrie will be able to play, every home game or not. But I'm very confident if the vaccine mandate goes away by the playoffs or by next year in New York and it gets lifted, that changes everything. I mean, when you have Kyrie, Ben Simmons, and Kevin Durant on the same team, I mean, it's a match made in heaven, as long as no one's being petty or anything like that, as long as everyone is together as a group and nothing happens behind the scenes and they get along. I don't see any issue with this team. Now, on the 76ers side, they got, of course, James Harden and Paul Millsap. I think Paul Millsap's probably going to be coming off the bench, replaces Andre Drummond for rebounding and stuff. He's probably going to play a little bit of center coming off the bench since they lost Andre Drummond. And obviously James Harden is James Harden. You got another scorer on your team, a premier scorer who can get you over 20 a night. People are saying that James Harden might play more point guard as the Sixers. I don't know what he's going to play, but I mean, we'll see. He probably will play point guard. I know James Harden has been loving to play point guard these past couple seasons. He sees himself more as that, getting other players involved and being able to score on ball. A lot of people don't know this, but James Harden statistically is actually favored more on ball instead of off the ball. James Harden is actually worse at shooting the ball on a catch and shoot than actually having the ball and dribbling and shooting the ball, which is crazy to think about. But James Harden, statistically, if you look it up, he actually does shoot better while having the ball than not having the ball, which is kind of crazy. But essentially, he needs to have the ball to score the best he can, and that's a part of it. The Sixers only gave up, a guy that wasn't playing for them and one of the best shooters that they had, but they still kept Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle. Obviously, they have Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris they still have, so they'll be able to stretch out the floor and stuff. I think their team is going to be very good for these coming playoffs, but they only are going to have a couple games to play with each other. I don't know if they're going to be able to build the chemistry enough to get to where they need to be. I think they can maximize all the way to a conference championship or an NBA Finals appearance and possibly win it. But it's not going to be that long. Like I said, I think this team is only going to last for another 2 or 3 years, just because of the question is really on James Harden. It's not how he plays. It's really his health. This dude gets an injury like every season for his quad. His quad injury is horrible, and I don't know how long James Harden is going to last, and that's another reason why I think the Nets won this trade, is because they got rid of a guy that was probably not health-wise what you would like to see. And Ben Simmons, he's young, never had really any injury concerns except in the beginning of his career, but we all know that he probably stayed out longer than he needed to be just because the Sixers wanted to tank. So but other than that, Ben Simmons never really had any other injury concerns like James Harden. James Harden always has like a quad issue every season, and I mean, we'll see. It really just depends how healthy James Harden is through these next couple of years to see where he can help take the 76ers. And I know Joel Embiid and James Harden, the chemistry will probably work out, hopefully, but also possibly not. James Harden isn't known for staying with other stars a lot. James Harden doesn't really get along with stars very well, so if he's able to stay with Joel Embiid for a couple of years, that would be a shocker. But I think best benefit is that the Nets have a better future knowing that they could build their team around around the group of people that they have right now, Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons. And Ben Simmons, he's not going anywhere. You can keep him for a while. So I think with the Nets getting rid of all their draft picks and stuff, they're all in. They're still all in. And I think it's pretty safe to say that they're pretty confident. Even if they were to lose Kevin Durant and Kyrie in the future, they still have Ben Simmons to look forward to in the future and build around him. But yeah, I think the Nets won this trade. That's just my opinion. If you guys have any of your opinions of your own, go ahead and comment below. I'd really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Peace.